Our goal when we're solving equations, again, is always to isolate that variable. Okay, remember that means we're getting it by itself. So this time we're going to have variables on both sides. So our goal is kind of to get it to one side and then get it by itself. Okay, and when we get into these longer and longer problems, there's oftentimes more than one way to get to the right answer. So keep that in mind today when I'm showing you my steps. You might have made a couple other choices, but you still got to the same answer, and that's probably okay. So just a good rule of thumb of what to do first when there's so much to look at. If we ever have parentheses, okay, I always distribute and get rid of those parentheses first. And then combine any like terms. Then we'll move the variable to one side. So this is that new step I'll show you how to do today. And then it will turn into like a 1 or 2 step, and so then you'll add and subtract and multiply and divide to get rid of those steps. So just another note, when we combine like terms, remember they have to be on the same side. Okay, when they're on opposite sides, we are moving them. We'll look at that. So this first example, okay, I'm still drawing my line. Okay, I look at my steps. I don't have any parentheses, so I don't have to distribute. I don't have any like terms that are on the same side. Right, these are like terms, but they're on opposite sides. My 2 and 10 are like terms, but they are on opposite sides. So in this case, I'm skipping right to step 3, this new step, and moving the variable. Okay. So it doesn't matter actually which one you move. So this is why I said you may do your steps slightly different. I could cancel the 7 or I could cancel the 4K. Now because we look at this as one number right now, I want that whole thing to go away. I'm going to subtract it because I want this whole thing to turn to 0. I'm not dividing because I don't want this to be a 1K because then I'd still have a K left here. So by subtracting the full 4K, this whole term disappears. And I have negative 10. Realize that's a negative 10. Okay. 7 minus 4, this becomes 3K, and I just bring down my plus 2. Okay, it's really important to kind of keep everything aligned here. So now this should look just like a 2-step. So add or subtract, so in this case I need to subtract to get rid of that 2. That makes 0. 3K is equal to negative 12. Divide by 3 to cancel that 3. We get K is equal to negative 4. Okay, just a quick check your answer. I know our problems are getting longer, so it's easier to make a mistake here, just forgetting a negative sign or distributing wrong. Any of those mistakes are really easy to make. So it takes like 10 seconds to check an answer, so I encourage you to do so. So now that we have 2 K's, realize I have to put negative 4 in both of those spots. So 7 times K plus 2 is supposed to be equal to 4 times K minus 10. Okay, and I like to still kind of draw my line here. So I'm not doing anything to both sides because I'm not solving, I'm just checking. So I'm going to do this math. So negative 28 plus 2 gives me negative 26. I'm going to do this math. Negative 16 subtract 10 gives me negative 26. Yes, those equal each other, so we have the right answer. K is negative 4. Okay, so like I said, that doesn't take long. It's just a quick, does it work? Does this side actually equal the other side? Because that's the goal. Good. So like I said, there's many ways to start this problem. I chose to subtract the 4 instead of the 7, because if I were to have subtracted 7 on this side, I would have gotten a negative 3. And if I don't have to work with negatives, choose not to. So that way I knew I was going to have a positive 3 there. But if you did it that way, you would still have the same answer. You'd just be dividing by a negative 3 at the end instead of positive 3, which would still give you a negative 4 because your 12 would be positive if you're solving it that way too. So if you wanted to kind of see how it looks, you could solve it again over here, but you can do them multiple ways. Good, so I'm going to have you try 2. So I've written the problems down on this side, and then I've just set up my checking, but I just haven't plugged in what x equals in those yet. So I would like you to check these ones for practice. So pause the video, try these, and then play to check your answers. Now, hopefully if you check your answers, you know you have the right answer, so it's really redundant me showing you how to do this, but I am going to. So we can distribute this time, so that's my first step I do. So negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Okay, realize that's a negative 5 there, so negative 2 times negative 5 turns into a plus 10. And there's nothing for me to do on this side right now, so I just bring it down. Right? Every time we do something, we want to rewrite the problem. It makes it really easy for me to follow your work. It keeps you organized and less likely to make a mistake. Okay, so now I don't have any like terms that are on the same side. So now I have my variables I need to get on the same side. So you can cancel either one of these. I'm choosing to cancel the 2 here because I know I'm going to add it, and I'm going to have a positive 5x. I just bring down my 5. That makes 0, so I'm left with 10. And then it's a 2-step, subtract 5. Divide by 5 to find out that x is equal to 1. Okay, so again, to check your answer, 1 goes in every place there's an x, and then we just follow the order of operations. So 3 plus 5 gives me 8. 1 minus 5 is negative 4, and then a negative times a negative gives me positive. So we've got the right answer there. All right, so second example problem, we have no parentheses. We have no like terms that are on the same side, so we'll get into those longer problems in the next couple pages of practice. So I jump right into getting my variable on the same side. So I would probably have chosen to add 5 here just because I know I'm going to get positive. I'm going to do it the other way just so you can see, in case you chose to subtract 2x, that you can still do it that way. So that cancels. Positive 2 minus 2 is 0. You have a negative 8. So this is where some people make that mistake. They don't bring down their negative. And then this is now a negative 7. So if you did it the other way, you're getting a positive 7 there. So subtract 6 to cancel my 6, which gives me negative 14. So I divide by a negative 7, and I get x is a positive 2. Okay, so at the end here, you probably had both positive numbers if you started the problem different than mine, which still gives you a positive 2. So like I said, it doesn't matter. As long as you're doing your steps right, you're going to get the same answer. So plug my 2 into check. Negative 10 plus 6 gives me negative 4. 4 minus 8 gives me negative 4. Yay, 2 is the right answer. All right, so we're going to do lots of practice just because there's so many different problems you could see with these, so I want you to see lots of different options. So I'm going to give you 2, and then I'll give you 3. Okay, so pause and try those. All right, so like I said, you should be checking your answers, so you should know if you got them right or wrong. So I'm going to go through my steps kind of quickly. So first distribute gives me 8y plus 4, and then I just bring down my other side. Okay, I'm choosing to cancel my 2y, which brings me my negative 26 down. 6y plus 4. Now it's just a 2-step, so this is why we practiced 1 and 2 steps for so long, because you still need to know how to do them. So I'm running out of room, so I'm coming up here. So 6y, because that's gone, is equal to negative 30. And then when I divide, we get y is equal to negative 5. Okay, Okay, so then, again, you're just plugging that in to check your answer. So you can pause and look at that if you need to a little bit closer. I got to distribute here again, so I get 8y minus 8 is equal to 10y. And I do want to talk about this step for a little bit. So normally it doesn't matter which variable we cancel, but in this case we do not want to cancel this 10 because then I have nothing left on this side. So we actually want to cancel our 8y. That's what you have to do next. So that cancels. We have negative 8 is equal to positive 2y. So when we divide, y is equal to negative 4. And then you can check your answer. Before I show you checking your answer, I just want to go back to this step here. So I have some people who always try to do this. And what they end up doing is they get this negative 2y, and they bring down their 8, and they try to move their equal sign here. Okay, remember that's why we draw this line here. Our equal sign has to stay here. So you'll start hearing me say in class, don't move your equal sign. Okay, this is the subtraction sign there. So, I mean, technically you could do this and you're going to get 0, but then you just have more steps. So notice when I canceled my 8, I only had one step left. This is a 2-step, so I still have 2 steps, and I would be adding the 8 to the other side. So I could finish that off, but I just wanted to point that out a little bit more. So that's what it looks like when we check our answer. Okay, so I got 3 for you to try now. I am throwing some curveballs in there, so be careful when you are distributing. All right, so let's check. So make sure you're drawing that line so your equal sign doesn't move. So when I distribute on this side, I've got 14x plus 21. And then realize on this side, I now have like terms that are on the same side. So those combine to be a 7x. Okay, so if you kind of played to see how to do that, you could now pause and finish that problem out. So subtracting 14x here gives me negative 7x is equal to a negative 21. Divide to find that x is a positive 3. Oh, negative 3. See, I checked my answer with a negative 3. Yeah, because that was positive. Negative 3. Whoops. See, even I make mistakes. All right, so on this one, make sure we are distributing a negative 1. Okay, not that 2. So when we got to go to both terms there. So the 2 just hangs out. Okay, this becomes a negative 3t and a negative 7. Nothing for me to do on the other side yet. And then I have like terms. Okay, so remember it doesn't matter if I put my combination before the t or after the t. I a lot of times like to write my t first, but that's just me. So 2 minus 7 becomes a negative 5. So I had to distribute, I had to combine like terms, and now I can get my variable on the same side. So I'm going to add 3t. Negative 5 is equal to 8t plus 11. So subtract 11 from both sides, and I'm going to come up over here because I'm running out of room. So on this side, I'm going to get my negative 16 and my positive 8. So when I divide, t is negative 2. Okay, you see that works out on the other side. So even if I forget that negative sign, like how I messed mine up here, if I were to have checked a positive 3 here, these wouldn't match. So it's nice when you have the right answer because you're like, oh yay, I have the right answer. But if you don't and this doesn't match, that doesn't mean you're like done. You're like, oh, I should just stop because I have the wrong answer. No, that means go look, and I would have found my negative mistake quickly because that was just a copy error, right? So sometimes it's just a little mistake you've got to find. So this becomes negative 4x minus 8. And then I'm going to combine those right now. That makes a negative 5x. So plus my 4x. Negative 8 is equal to a negative x. Okay, so remember we don't want a negative x, so last step's to divide by negative 1. To find that x is positive 8. Okay, and that works when I plug it in for x. 3 spots for you to plug it in for x in that one. All right, so next page, you have lots of practice problems. I am not going to talk through them, so I'm just going to show you the answers when you're done. So go ahead and pause, write them down, and then play to see how you did. Okay, so like I said, hopefully those are done now because you're playing the video. These are what your answers should be and how to check your answers.